talk a little bit about Ro and Benji. So why was dual perspectives the best way for you to tell this story?
I just knew that it had to be dual POV. I knew that their story would not be complete without the other. I mean, it was weird for me too, because I'd always, written single POV. Like every single book I'd written beforehand, it was always just one character narrating. And so dual POV was definitely a really fun challenge for me, because it was like, how can I handle these two voices? But also I knew that the story had to be told through two people, because the way that their stories played off each other was crucial to kind of the wholeness of the book. It couldn't just be from the scientist, and it couldn't just be from the artist. So yeah, that was kind of, I think I realized very early on that it had to be two people's stories. It had to be two friends in conversation with one another.
So how much do you know going in? Do you have some idea of what the overall plot's going to be? And it's got to be set in 1983, and these have to be the characters, or do you have just a slight inkling? How much are you flying blind when you get started?
Yeah. So for clues, I had the, plot of the book, like the very bare bones. I knew that Ro wanted to build her rocket. I knew that Benji wanted to find his father. Those were kind of the two like big motivators that I was heading out with. I think that over the course of the book, there was a lot of tinkering with the plot, just because I don't want to sound too spoilery, but kind of there's a big mystery, and how they go about solving the mystery, right? Like finding the father, for example. I had to work that out a lot in my brain. I think that once I did like write a pretty bare bones outline though, and that was what I carried with me throughout the book. So once I had to figure it out for a long time, but once I started writing it and once I started seriously drafting it, it pretty much all came out in one draft. So there wasn't that much that had to be tweaking kind of between drafts.
Is this a NaNoWriMo type draft, or how long did the draft take?
Yeah, so the summer after my freshman year, it was sorry, I got the idea summer after my high school graduation. I NaNoWriMo'd that for like 10,000 words or something that summer. And then I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready to actually write the book. So the summer after my freshman year at Stanford, I wrote the entire book. I didn't actually do NaNoWriMo that summer. I think I knew that writing the book would take a little bit longer just because I was working around a job. But yeah, I drafted it. And so I drafted, I think 2/3 of it. And then I drafted the last third during the winter break after my first semester, first quarter back or something. And so, yeah, between those two kind of like big long breaks, I scraped together whatever time I had to kind of write the first draft of that. And then after that, I think it went to a couple readers and then went to my agent. I got those notes back. And then at that point, the book was ready to go on sub.
So let's talk a little bit about voice, because we've got two very distinct voices here. And your characterization is, I felt like I knew both these kids, especially Benji, who loves his aliens and his comic books. Like, yes. I understand. But these are two very distinct voices. I'm assuming that doesn't happen immediately draft one. How do you refine those voices? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, that was my agent's big note to me, actually. She was like, these kids sound too similar, like, please make them different, And so that was the biggest thing that I think I had to work on, I think, other than the plot. And so for Ro and Benji, I mean, they're two very different people. I really wanted my writing choices to reflect that. So I employed some little tricks in my writing. I mean, for Ro, I always made her sound really factual and logical. So she always tries to quantify things. She never exaggerates. She always says things just as they are. Even with her emotions, she is always very factual about what she is expressing. I think she is easier to talk about her observations around her than to express her emotions. Like, she won't necessarily say I'm sad. She'll say, like, for example, something like, I noticed my dad's jacket in the box, like I went to go put it away. Small details like that. For Benji, I whipped out the fantastical. He exaggerates everywhere. He always says stuff like, oh my gosh, like that felt like a million billion years. Like, it was so long, like class was so boring. He always is like imagining things, like always imagining some kind of like alien invasion. Like his mind just goes, his imagination is, truly admirable. It really goes wild. And so I And also like Benji like always has these like sarcastic quips and kind of like, you know, when he was like, oh, I'd rather go to the dentist than like speak in front of class, just kind of these like little like witty remarks that was very, you know, unique to his character. So yeah, through those small little tricks, I tried to make them sound like they were distinct people because they very much were. And so I wanted it to come across that way.